over and over again. So why don't you guys talk a little bit about that, about what I just discussed, and whoever wants to start.
Cool. My name is Nathan. I play the character of Judah. Me and Andrew, there's definitely, in our relationship, there's definitely those traumatic elements that he talked about. It's really obvious beforehand. Judah really plays, I think, Andrew's older brother, and I think he really plays into that. And he knows that his older brother in real life really tortured him and traumatized and really got under his skin. And I think Judah tries to fill that role, and I think he does so really well. I think he's just really obsessed with doing that. And
I think a big thing about Judah is that he has antisocial personality disorder. He is a sociopath. As you see, it's like I slit my wrist and he checks his watch, which was the actor's decision. Honestly, I think that he is amazing. I think this man is amazing. These people have never met the people that they are playing, and he became this character to a point where it's literally it was sick. It was fucking sick.
He's still in character, by the way.
He's still in character. All right, so go ahead, next in line.
What's the question?
Patterns repeating.
Well, I think if anybody here looked at their life as a whole, they'll realize their patterns repeat. Me as a human being, I've dated a ton of crazy girls because one, they're wildcats in the sack. Two, they make things really interesting. But I continue to do that. Eventually, you hope to break that cycle. But those patterns, if you look at your relationship, you will realize
You will date the same person over and over again, and stuff like that. And again, the older brother, I think the jury's out on whether or not he's a true sociopath. He's someone who's trying to get away from what he thinks is this crazy family, and he thinks he's better than that. And it repeats again in characters like, the first boyfriend, Evan, that we see, and they're named the same name, which, should give that away, Evan and then Evan, which actually was the truth in real life as well.
I thought she messed it up. I never paid attention to that scene. She said his name. I was like, oh, she messed up.
No.
What is his name?
Yeah, it's the same name, and
Joke.
that's the truth in real life as well. That's not their real names, but that's the truth in real life. Go ahead.
Repeating ruts are comfortable.
Ruts are comfortable.
It's what you get used to. It's just, well, he does this, now I do this, and then he does this, and now I do this, and it's hard to break that when you get into it. You have to actually decide, okay, I don't like it, I'm done, I want things to change, I want to be happy, and you have to stop. But that's not easy to do.
Jenny, go ahead. Elaborate.
Well, as a wildcat in the sack,
All there.
I was going to say that. I'm just kidding. Playing Nikki, I feel like when you're crazy or when you feel like you're crazy, you almost look for validation from other people. You almost look for people to get in the boat with you so that you can hold hands and skip off into the sunset. And being Nikki and getting to the level that was expected of Nikki with Andrew, it just, you know what I mean? It was almost like you wanted to do it. You just wanted to just be free. I mean, Andrew just is such a free person. And there's so much stigma about having a mental illness, but honestly, having a mental illness, it just gives you this, just puts you in a different level where you're just like, I can just be free. And me, playing a girl that's a drug addict, they are just free in a different way. But those similarities repeated, even though it was differences, there were similarities that definitely repeated the two together.
I think that she, again, another person who was just so well cast. My parents actually met her. And when they met her, they were just like, they knew exactly who she was playing. And I won't call out the real person's name, but they were just like, Nikki, It's just like, the casting was so spot on. There was such sensitivity to that it was unbelievable. All right, so why doesn't Catherine please stay up, and the rest take your seats. I need Sini, I need Magdalena, Elizabeth, please, and Jane, please come up.
I would be my parents.
You want to meet my parents?
It's for the camera.
Okay, so the next discussion that we're going to have here is about feminism, and obviously that takes a really big part of the story too. Beauty and feminism. It's like they say that a narcissistic child is born from a narcissistic set of parents. So it's like every time I walk into the house, it's like an approval of like who's beautiful. And the father, it's like I don't really care about your approval. As long as they're a female, you're going to be happy. But when the mother comes home, it's like I need that stamp of approval, or else we're not going to be set. I just want to tell a quick story here about these two. So like, there's very, very strong female characters in here. And again, she's very much playing what is the female version of me. So we see her, she comes into this triangle, this disgustingly strange triangle, and she wins. And it's like, and the reason that I'm so fascinated with her, and everyone's just like, it's because she got one over on you. It's like she, you know, she got into there, she made every guy obsessed with her, and she walked right out, and she was like, peace out, you know? And that's something that is so admirable for me. And you could see that we admire each other so much. So when we were in casting, everyone wanted her to play Magdalena and her to play Jane. And they were like, you know, she looks like the bitch, and she looks like the nice girl, you know? And I was just saying, I was like, no, that's all wrong. I was like, because the truth is I was like, I don't look like the bitch. I was like, I look like the nice little boy. I was like, and honestly, if you saw the two true people, this is very much who they are, aesthetically and everything. And like I said, I was like, people are not what they're supposed to be in life. People are not what they always look like. She's supposed to be the undercover bitch. On the outside, she's this good little girl. And her, it's like everyone thinks she's very much the Wendy of this story. A lot of people are Peter Pan analogies. She is the Wendy of the story. And everyone might think that Wendy's the sweet girl. Wendy's not the sweet girl in Peter Pan's head. Peter Pan's like, this is an uppity bitch who comes in and takes my lost boys and wants to run away with them. You know, it's like she's someone who comes in and thinks so highly of herself. So, and the other thing about her was that, like when she first walked in, I think people were like, oh, is she going to be able to do drama? When I first asked for the casting call, I asked for a comedic actress. She wrote back, I am the girl you are looking for. This girl is comic gold. Like every word out of her mouth was just hilarious. It's like, I just think she was, like I said, the true essence of Jane was that she was a Elaine from Seinfeld mixed with a Joey from Dawson's Creek. And I think that she really pulled that off well. It's like everything, she was like a young Terry Garr. Everything out of her mouth was hilarious. And then on this side, when we had the character of Isabel, this is a character who, she's not obsessed with looks. As I'm sitting there and telling her how beautiful she is, oh my God, you're so beautiful, you're so beautiful. She's like, yeah, we need to work. So you could see that there's a very strong feminist element in her, where it's just like, I don't care about this beauty stuff that you're talking about. Like, she's building her career, that's all she cares about, and she becomes a very successful woman, you know? Go ahead, guys, elaborate. We could just go down the line.
So, what am I elaborating on?
Feminism in the story.
Okay, so, I mean, Magdalena obviously is that girl who really makes Andrew question everything that he ever knew about her. She doesn't care about having that husband or that significant other. She doesn't care about having that home with kids, and she doesn't give a crap about any of that. She just, I think basically, she just kind of wants to be in charge of every situation and be like the it girl, and obviously she got that, so I mean.
She was. She was very much that.
I'm not like the character.
No, she was. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I think Jane shows feminism in a couple different ways because she's really strong and she acts like, you know, she doesn't care about people's input and whatever, but she would leave Andrew and she left him multiple times to live the normal life, but at the same time, she still wants him and she still goes back. And so, I don't know, she's just kind of, she's always trying to be that strong person, but then she's always
I think what's important about Jane is that Jane is trying to be someone who's perfect, as is Evan. And that's why it's like, they're fighting with each other, but it's like, hello, you're the same person. You're sitting there and you're trying to be this perfect person who says, I'm not like the rest of this party, I'm better than this. But it's like, hello, you're both still here. Like, I mean, it's 10, 15 years later and you're both still here, wake up, you know? Go ahead.
I'm not sure exactly what.
I think you could comment on the stamp of approval and the fact that the mother really plays a big role in me looking for a feminist.
See, I saw it differently than you did on that.
Okay.
That's your filter of mommy
Yeah, I guess
Yeah. I think she's doing everything, all of this to make you feel better.
You think so? It
Yeah,
could be.
I think it's her way of caring for you. I think it's her way of caring for her babies, her children. Her stamp of approval makes you feel better.
There was a model who was just on Ellen recently, and my mother's a big Ellen fan. And it was a model, and she was like, he was so gorgeous, everything about him was so perfect. She goes, and then he turned his face in the wrong direction. She goes, you could just see the jaw was not right. You know, so I mean, so I think that, you know, she does have that element where she's, I mean, every girl who walks into the house, they have to face that, you know.
But did she ever turn any of them down? Did she ever say it?
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean,
She
maybe
did?
not to their
Okay.
faces, but yeah, totally.
Cool.
I mean, she doesn't fawn over them if she doesn't like them.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and Isabel is just, she's a powerful businesswoman who is all about fashion and her career, and like she's partner in crime with Andrew, and she's like showing that women can be very powerful too, like in business. And
Yeah, and I think that's important, you know, I think it's like we see it's not that I'm a misogynist, like when you see me with Colleen perhaps, it's like this is a dynamic of boy versus girl, but it's more that I'm just someone who, I guess, I'm someone who just has a high standard of feminism, and that's what it comes from. It's like, I want the girl to stand up for herself and not just run off because some guy's offering a wedding ring. You know, I have a high standard. All right, thank you, ladies. Next up, we're going to talk about psychology in the story. So I need Cooper, played by Charles Kinder. I need Kristen Dodson. Come on up. Come on back up, Jenny Matlack. And let's see. I think we should have. Perhaps we should have Gordon up. Come on up. Before I get into this, though, I want to call John Moncayo up. Come on up. I want to demonstrate just how perfectly cast this was, and just how much time we put into it, and how sensitive we were to the subject. We were making sure that, A, we did not exploit any disorders, which his character was really supposed to be the voice of normalcy in this, and the voice of stability, and when everyone's calling me crazy, it's like the one person who really seems very sane is saying, you're not crazy though. And I think that's important. And on top of that, we're trying to make sure that the people aren't exploited. We were trying to make sure that the people felt well represented. So my script and story supervisor was my best friend. Please, Carlos. Carlos Leon, come up. Carlos personally chose John. I mean, that's how, and you know, Carlos knows all these people, and I mean, this is how dedicated we were to getting this right. I mean, he personally chose this person, and I think I'm pretty on point with my casting. You want to talk about that either one of you?
Yeah, I met John actually where I met Andrew just years later. He's younger than I am, obviously. But I just think that's good because I was about his age when I did meet Andrew. When I met John is at the age of when I met Andrew, is what I'm trying to say. And me and John are actually pretty similar. You know, we're both chill guys. He's very normal. He's down to earth. He has a huge heart.
Very normal.
Yeah, he's very normal. He's very fun though. He was very fun. But he has a huge heart. You know, he comes from wherever he needs to come from in order to go to an event. You know, he was there when I got my first job. He went to my party. He was there when he wanted to invite me personally to go to his girlfriend's recital. He's always invited me places, and he always has such a big heart. I just think he embodies the Diego Moreno character much more than anyone else that we know of. So I said, you know what, John is good looking. John is better looking than I am. Well, no doubt about that. You know, John is everything I want to be.
One thing that we tried to do, and we didn't get all the, I mean, a lot of these people either aren't talking to me or whatever, so, I mean, we didn't call people up and ask their opinions, but, I mean, again, we just tried to be sensitive on the topic of if they would be happy with who was cast, and I think most of them would. John, you want to elaborate a little bit on this?
Well, yeah, like, Diego, I won't call you Diego, but as
Yeah,
Carlos
Carlos.
said, I've known Carlos for a while now, a couple of years, and I still have to try out for the role, but I mean, come on, it's pretty spot on. And we are very similar, so everything I did up there, I was like, John, forget acting for a second. You and Carlos are the same person. I was like, all you have to worry about the little mannerisms and everything. I mean, I'm sorry, I think I played it better than you could have played it, because I think we were so similar, so I mean, that's my...
From the eyebrow raising
Yeah, I'm
to
just
the
like-
to the smile, and
Everything
the
I did is
chin
what he
nod.
does. I worked really hard.
Yeah. He's a keen
Thank you,
observer.
guys. All right, so one of the big conversations here is, of course, normalcy versus what is crazy, and of course, again, there's so many stigmas with the word crazy that we really don't want to use it. At the end, you see that I'm slitting my wrist and I'm hanging over a tub. We are not endorsing do not call the police. Of course, we're endorsing call the police, please. But there is a stigma against crying for help, and we want to show that there's a fear for doing that. It's like there's this fear of, of putting yourself out there. Because then, the same way Orange is the New Black is raising awareness of stigmatizing being incarcerated, we're showing the stigma of being institutionalized. One person that I clearly fight with a lot is calling me crazy is, the character of Colleen, who wants to make everyone normal and have these babies and stuff like that. So go ahead on that.
Hi guys, my name is Kristen Dodson and I play Colleen. Totally right on what Andrew was just introducing you guys with. I enjoyed playing Colleen. She definitely is a huge advocate for what is normal in society. She actually represents, I would say, out of anyone in the cast, society, and the society that doesn't accept his lifestyle. So it was a constant battle, between the two. I mean, on top of that, he's stealing her best friend, and then on top of that, anything that she values, he obviously would criticize or smack down. There's this constant back and forth between the two.
I think that's really important. I think that we see that so much, and then again we see that later on with Jenny's character, Nikki. Is that obviously I'm not looking for the character that's like her. I'm very much looking for the character that is like Nikki. And you want to go into that a little?
I think the scene where you're telling me that you don't want me to die and I say that it's not your choice really just puts it all into a nutshell.
I can suggest.
It's Nikki, I feel like, is so bent on self-destruction and is so bent on selfishness and on getting, the next quick up that she doesn't even see what's clearly right in front of her.
And I think that with her, when she says, that scene, that little tiny clip, it's true, that is so much of what's going on here. It's like, these two people want to save each other, they do. It's like, she has no bad intention. She's not Judah who's checking his watch, but it's just like, she doesn't know how to save me, I don't know how to save her. It's a blind leading the blind, Another character, this is something that we really took a lot of care into casting, was the character of Cooper, and she's not here, but the character of Vanya. Both characters, I don't know if you realize this, they have Asperger's syndrome. So that's why it's like every time he opens his mouth and he rambles on and on, it's funny. And the real person is very much like that too. But at the same time, it's definitely another stigma that we were trying to delete. It's like, this is a human being, and borderline people like myself are often very drawn to them, even though we're all about emotion and throwing ourselves out there in episodes, and they're just like, yeah, okay, well, killing yourself will probably be a bad idea though right now. And you're just like, what? And at the same time, it does make sense. It makes sense. Like, it's just, it's like when the girl comes up to me and she says, what's all important is in here. It's like, pearls of wisdom. Where did that come from, And I think, again, she does it like, she has the blinking eye movement and she's very slow, and he does it very fast, and that's the difference between Asperger's male and Asperger's female.
Yeah. Something that you touched on was that we're the character of Cooper Kelly and Andrew were very drawn together, and I think something that you kind of hinted on was with Asperger's, you develop this really intent focus and really really unsurmountable just complete push of time, energy, and resources on one thing. And so Andrew, as your character, you have all these things to give Cooper. You have all these kind of addictive traits and personalities and personality traits and qualities, and that's something that Cooper can so easily attach himself onto, and I think that's something that really like magnetized the two people together.
I think what the truth is that what I was obviously trying to do is he did end up becoming Judah's replacement. She's like, you're Judah's replacement. And it's true. It's like I was trying to replace him, and when he came along, it's like, good, you can maybe fill my quota of abuse. And he's like, well, I'll do anything as long as that I can be a part of something. I don't talk to the real Cooper anymore. I love him very much. I think he's a great person. And it took me a really, really long time to realize that this is who he was. And it's like, and everybody, who I know is just like, well, if you invited Cooper here, what would he do? And I was like, he would come. I was like, even though I'm not talking to him, there's free booze and it's a party. He would go meet other people. And that took a long time for me to accept. But that's who he is, and it's just, I can't change it. So it's just who he is. Then we have the character of Gordon. And the character of Gordon, I think, is probably one of the most complex diagnoses in the story. We don't really know what's up with him. We know that he comes in, and he is a lot like me, but he's the shadow to Peter Pan. We see with I'm always wearing the hat, and we had him in the green beanie, because that's very much, Peter Pan. We did a lot of the costume kind of Easter eggs. And I think that it's like, we can't really place him, like, is he a sociopath? Is he borderline himself? It's like, he's definitely not emotional. Is he just a narcissist? It's like, he likes wrapping me around his finger, but at the same time, there's just a level of social anxiety that's there. And I think that he is a character that, of course, I really throw myself into and I fall in love with. And I guess probably connect with on maybe the most intimate level because of the fact that we're just sharing back and forth of who we are. It's like we talk about prostitution in the opening scene. I prostitute myself and I'm putting myself out there. And I think people might be like, that's really shocking, and I never did it for the money or anything like that. I did it for kind of trying to find my way. And I think that the sad thing in the LGBTQ community is that selling sex is almost a rite of passage. And if anybody wants to argue that with me, they can maybe say that, but I think whether you've been a go-go boy, or whether you've been on the internet in some way, or whether you've been, whether you maybe whored yourself out once, or whether you've done something, it's like, if a woman says she would do this, she would be looked at as, oh my God. But if a gay guy says he does this, if he puts a picture of himself shirtless on the internet as his default, it's like, woo, you're amazing. So I think that there's a level of sex shaming that goes along with everyone else, whereas for the LGBTQ community, it ends up becoming a rite of passage. Do you want to?
Yeah, on the note of social anxiety, I think that Gordon is at war with himself. He's not open about his sexuality. And I think that he actually admires you. I know one thing he said in the film was that he loves that you just don't give a fuck. And so I think he wants to be like you. And I think that insofar as he wants that, then he's able to go to any length to control you as well, because you are his pleasure, you're his escape, you're what he wants to be, but he's afraid to be. So it's this constant struggle, and it plays out in anxiety.
Okay, so I want you to stay up here. The rest of you, please have a seat. And can I have Alexandre? Can I have Hunter? And can I have Maddie, please? Okay, so the next issue that we're going to talk about is sexuality, which obviously plays a huge part of this story. And one thing that it's, I think it's like, I don't want this film to say, nurture over nature, because that's not it. You have to remember that this is coming from a borderline person's perspective. And at the same time, I think the whole idea is just shedding stigma altogether. And it's like, and for me, I have a history of trauma, and I'm repeating that trauma over and over again. So there is a level of conditioning. And I think if you leave yourself open in this world, if you leave your mind open, you can probably open yourself up sexually to other things, as I always have, and I keep doing, and stuff like that. And when the father says, you're gay one minute, you're straight the next, we're going to drug the fag right out of you. It's like, I keep throwing myself into different relationships. It's like, you see that one minute I could be the little girlfriend of a top, the next minute I could try and be like the big top of a bottom, and then the next minute I could go along and I could just be a steady man boyfriend to this girl, and then the next minute it's like, okay, well we're just interchanging and like we're just, on the same level. So really it's like, I can just, it's not that so much that I am trying to manipulate these people as I'm trying to hold on to people. So I just sort of adapt to what they want me to be, and that is very much a borderline trait. That's very much something that borderline personality does. You want to go down the line?
I'm so nervous.
A round of applause.
Oh, this is sweaty. It's been sweaty since I saw this on the camera, so sorry. Okay. Well, like you were saying about how you're very, just you don't make a thing where you have to be labeled. I mean, you make yourself adaptable depending on who you're with to keep them where you want them. It's like, as it shows in the film, that you're very controlling, but the whole thing is really just, I guess, susceptible to a toxic relationships. And like Felix, my character, he starts to develop feelings for you, and he's not toxic, and he's not getting it, and so you do what you can to keep him around because you want to keep like a circle, a family.
I think that's very important. It's like, with Felix, it's not that I don't like him because he's effeminate or anything like that. The reason that I don't like him is because I want abuse, and he's not giving it to me. So it's like, I need someone who's going to be dishing out that kind of abuse. And it's like, in this kid, it's like, you're giving me a nice, healthy relationship. Well, that's boring. Go ahead.
Just to expand on the labels, my name is Andrew Cristi. I play Evan. He's Andrew's on again, off again, on off, boyfriend or love interest, and I think he's terrified of the labels, and he sort of resents Andrew for sort of pushing that on him constantly and threatening with it, as you saw in the many phone calls I received. Yeah, so there's this push and pull in this volatile relationship, and he kind of hangs over my character's head that he's going to out him and tell his friends and sort of label him, which is ultimately what he is terrified of.
And again, this is not a PSA. I'm not endorsing like, oh, you should start dating closet cases and start threatening to out them and call them a billion times. I'm trying to show that this is accurately something that borderline personality disorders do. And it's like when he tells me, you're like Fatal Attraction, Glenn Close has started to work with an organization called Bring Change to Mind. She's not necessarily apologized for the film because it's wonderful, but she said, they painted this character into being a villain, and that this character is an evil person, and it's not. It's just someone who's human. It's like we all go through dark times. We all, it's like, again, I'm trying to repeat a certain person, and it's like, that person kept me a secret. That person kept me in the dark. So in order to repeat this, I keep going back to these kinds of people and trying to seek out that kind of toxicity.
Okay, so I think going back to the nature versus nurture debate, I think that, well, everyone can have their own opinion with that, but I think what this film does is the main message that I really like about it is just bringing attention to the fact that everyone is human. Whether you believe in that you're gay because you were born that way, or you're gay because you were conditioned that way, or whatever your belief is, I really like the message that everyone is just human. And
yeah, everyone's just a person. It's like, I think it's like everyone wants to put a label, no matter what label they're putting on you, gay, straight, crazy, whatever. It's like, we're all just human beings, and it's like, and at the same, like, at the core, we're all the same. And I think that's really what we're trying to say. No stigmas on anybody, we're all the same. Go ahead.
Yes, as far as my character Gordon is concerned, like I said before, he's at war with himself. He's not open about his own sexuality, and he sees you open and brash about your sexuality, and I think that he wants a lot of that. And I think there are also some dark elements to Gordon's sexuality, whereas you can control him, he can control you, and the relationship definitely plays into that as well.
Right, I think so. So that's our sexuality discussion. Now we're going to call up. I need Hunter to stay. The rest of you, please please get seated. DJ, please, Derek, come back, and Judah, Nathan. I have 3 different names that I have to remember. They're inspirational names, they're real names, they're character names. Go ahead, come on up, guys. Okay, so one thing I really want to discuss here is bullying. And the fact that bullying obviously plays a very important role in all this. I'm addicted to bullying, it's like, that's obviously like when you talk about fetishes, my biggest, it's like, and I think that a lot of people are, very anti-bullying, and of course, again, this is not a PSA, like, go for, endorsing bullying. No, I just think that bullying exists in all communities, and a lot of, if you even watch gay porn or most porn, there's a lot of bullying elements inside of porn. There's a lot of sadomasochism, and I think that there's things that you have to, that's just the truth of it, And my character definitely is very turned on by the fact of being bullied. And it starts, in the beginning. So, go ahead.
Well, I think I know for a fact there's that great thing where people always assume that bullying is an external component. But if you look at, let's say, Vietnam, which is a fact, more people died after Vietnam than they died during Vietnam. Not people, obviously more people, but more vets came home and committed suicide. It's twice the number that died after Vietnam than during. And that's because that bullying and that idea of people throwing stuff at them and having those internal conflicts came out, and they didn't know how to deal with it. So I think bullying is scars are awesome because scars leave marks. And like, oh, I got that because, whatever. But internal scars such as bullying leave things that you might not be able to see. Hence, the Vietnam things.
And I think it's hard to talk about this without bringing up what just happened in the news that kind of became a sensation of the character from Looking and what he said about, I'm glad my father raised me to be a man and not such a sissy. And I think that, that's not, that's obviously not what we're trying to say here. It's like, his character at the end tells me, the cycle of monsters has to stop somewhere. And it's like, I'm looking for him to keep going. It's like, keep doing this. This is great what you're doing. And he's like, no, like we should kind of cut this out. He is a human being at the end. Even bullies are human beings. Most people, even if they've been bullied, they have a time where they bully someone else. It's like, it's an unfortunate chain of command. And and what that guy got wrong is you don't have to be a masculine or heterosexual person to be a bully or anything like that. Some of the worst bullying comes from inside people's own communities, whether it's black on black bullying or women on women bullying, or as we see, there's the moment where the effeminate gay guys come up to me and they start bullying me. And that's very much something real in this community. And again, I would like anybody who is ever stepped inside the LGBT community to come up to me, and I challenge them to tell me that they've never been bullied by another gay guy. Go ahead on that.
I completely agree that bullying is very much a cycle. That like 99% of people who you would look at as a bully have probably been bullied in their past. Sorry,
no, it's no problem. Okay, you want to elaborate?
Yeah, sure. I think having an Andrew's relationship, it's very even-sided in terms of the bullying, and they sort of get addicted to that push and pull, and it's someone touched on it before, but you just get comfortable with that relationship, and that even if it's traumatic, and this person does this person does this, and that's just how it goes, and unless someone makes a rash decision or movement, it's just going to keep on going, and so they just keep bullying each other physically, my character to him, and then emotionally, and words and threats.
Yeah, I think that not only is he bullying me, I'm bullying him right back. And I think that goes the same for Judah's character. It's like, what I'm so in love with Magdalena about, it's like, this is great because you're putting this kid through the ringer. It's like every time he goes to kiss you, you're turning your head. It's like, I love this about her. And I think that, was he originally the bully, or did we perhaps create him, who ends up becoming the most lethal bully of all?
Well, that turning of the head thing was obviously very bullyish, I tried to kiss, and she obviously turned me down. But me and your relationship we bully each other. We play these cat and mouse games, and it's just too hard to get out of it. It's like, we're addicted to this chemical, and we just can't. We have to bully each other in order to survive.
You're not the real person.
I know, of course not. All right.
Just making that, because you kind of are, and it's scary. All right, so that's it, guys. Thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so have another drink, and let's get out of here, I guess, because I think we went a lot over.